So things had been a little different in the past 2 years, with schools beginning online and then shutting off online as well. But now it's uh, offline, and the children have to go to school in a very different way. And I believe a lot of our children are doing this for the first time. So even if their school had begun during the pandemic time, they have only attended school online so far, and never offline. And for some children, it's just the first time they are attending to school, and that is offline. And things are going to look a little different. So before we just begin with this, I want to drop in a question here, and that is, how excited is your child about going back to school? So I think there's a poll that's going to be put up there, and I would request you all to please answer. That is, how excited is your child about going back to school? Right, I see the responses coming in. Okay, I see most of the children are on the positive end of the spectrum. That is, they're either excited or a little more neutral about the whole idea. What about the others? Um, okay, so I think we got like a lot of responses about how people are feeling about going back to school. I request you all to please remain on mute. Thank you. Right. Okay, so there are a lot of mixed responses about how children are feeling about going back to school, and I see a lot of positive ideas about that question, and I am really happy about that. But I think as parents also, we are quite concerned about how our children are going to be handling the whole back to school idea, right? Again, I'm really sorry, but I would ask you all to please be on mute. Yeah, thank you. So before we go ahead, let me just quickly introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Yashi. I'm an R&D intern at Crink, a master's student of psychology, and also a trainee therapist. And I'm going to be heading today's session on back to school. Right. So now let's just begin with what we are going to be concentrating on today, right? And that is how back to school is going to look for children. Now, the pandemic has led to a lot of changes for us as adults and the children in every domain of our life. And that is not just in education or academic, but also everywhere else. Children have become so restricted to the environment of home and having academics and everything working out in the home environment, that the idea of going to school can be quite different and can bring along quite a few doubts and challenges, not just for the children, but also the parents. So we are talking about academic pressure. We are talking about changes in their social environment and interaction levels. We're talking about the physically taxing aspect of going to school, because now they'll be placed in the offline environment, and that will place demands on their body as well. So we're going to be exploring all of these three aspects, and from the focus point of parents, that is how we as parents can pay attention to this and sort of make it easier for the children, right? Now, before we begin, there are some basics that I would really like you all to keep in mind. And that is, firstly, it will take time for your child to get used to the idea of going to school, of understanding how the environment of school works, getting used to that routine, and adapting to the changes is going to take time. Do not hurry it up for your children or get upset with them with that entire idea, because it is going to be a gradual process. Again, we have pandemic babies here who have never or very little social interaction they've had in their life. So it's going to be quite difficult for them and quite new. So we want to acknowledge that and give them the time to adapt to the change. Secondly, keep in mind that you have become increasingly important to your child. Now, you have been around your child the entire pandemic. They have only ever seen their family around, and that means you've become very important for them. That also means that how you react to their reactions is going to become very important. How you react to them being upset or anxious or worried about school is going to decide how much they are going to be expressing their fears and how they will judge themselves about it. So keep that in mind and react in a way that allows your child to feel that they are safe and they're allowed to express their emotions, because that is the first step to then bringing in a change. Okay. Right. Thank you for muting yourself. Okay. Now, seeking professional help if needed. That's a very important aspect I would want you all to remember. Your child is going to find difficulty or take a little time, and that's okay. However, you need to know when it is important for your child to seek professional help, or when you think it's becoming really difficult for you as a parent to be able to handle the concern, and for your child to cope up with the difficulties that they're facing. CRINC here has experts on board who are here to help parents and children out with exactly that. So you can get in touch with CRINC as well if there is a need for professional help that you see in your child related to the school and the academic dimension. Okay, so now that we have the basics established, let's just begin with talking about each of the aspects we mentioned that we'll touch on today. I would like to begin with my first question. That is, what is your favorite trick? Who was also a teacher and a parent, especially during the pandemic. I think every parent here assumed the role of a teacher as well. So, what was that one trick or tip that you applied to get your child to either sit down in their classes, or while you were explaining a specific topic? Any trick that really helped you? Could you please drop it in the chat box or unmute yourself and mention it here? Anyone, anything about how you got your child to do their assignments, or something that really helped them in picking up the concepts that were being discussed? Right, making the topic interesting. It allows for us, in the home environment, we have access to so many things that can make the entire, a very mundane topic also quite interesting by bringing in real life examples and things like that. So that sounds great. Are there anything else that parents have tried here, just to make the academics aspect a little more interesting for your children, especially so in the pandemic? Bringing in activities. It's a very good way of uh, making the topic very practical and also helping them understand what is actually happening behind the theory. Giving small gifts for small achievements. Reinforcement. It's a very, very good technique to keep your child, to keep them going, and encouraging them to take that step ahead towards achieving the final end result of just grasping the entire idea. Right. These sound quite interesting ways, and I'm pretty sure a lot of parents have tried some version of this, or some of their own techniques to just make learning fun for their children. And this brings us to our first topic that we're going to focus on, and that is academics. Now, academics is going to look a little different in the offline mode because, firstly, a very basic change is going to be in the duration of the classes and the timings of the classes. Another difference will be how the subject in itself is approached. So, firstly, exams were different. How the teachers taught with the lack of the blackboard and things like that, the facilities that they had, the tools that they had, all of that is going to change in the offline setting. There's also going to be co-curricular activities along with the curricular activities. So overall, with these changes in the assignment pattern, exam pattern, and everything that is being taught to the child, the academic pressure will change. However, there is one very big upside to the entire offline mode, and that is it will become easier for the child to concentrate and clarify their doubts because they are going to be in the specific environment meant for academics and for learning. School is the environment that can let them focus and pay attention to what is happening because it's going to be happening live in front of them. And any clarification of doubts and ideas or concepts is going to be much more quicker because the teacher is right there and so are the classmates. So discussion, clarification, and working out the doubts and concepts will become easier for your child. Now, what role can you as a parent play to make the academics aspect easier for them? First is to brush up on the basics by making it interesting. The basics are the very simple aspects on which what your child is going to learn is going to be built upon. So try to brush up on the basics of their previous academic year. You can use worksheets, activity books, pretend play. I am sure all of us at some point have played a version of Teacher Teacher. So you can incorporate that and use pretend play and make it fun for your child where you become the student and the child becomes the teacher and they sort of teach you what they were taught in the previous year or any of the basic concepts you pick up. You can also have group discussions sitting as a family where the topic is approached from a very practical perspective and ideas and examples are given to each other so that the child is just able to establish the basics very strongly because that is the focus. Now, second, be the teacher and guide at home. While you have been the teacher and guide at home for the past 2 years, I would encourage you to continue doing that because that will form the basis of the help that they are used to. The past 2 years, it's you who's been giving that to them. And it is going to be a little longer that you play this role for them. Whatever they figure out in school, the doubts that they have, they're used to coming back to you for it and continue to do that. Help them out, figure it out with them. You can slowly ease yourself out of that role, but don't do it all at once and all of a sudden. Another thing that you can try is to meet the child faculty at school and collaborate with them. So what you can do is you can meet the child faculty, understand what is going to be covered in the coming academic year, and brush up on those topics or prepare yourself also so you can understand how you can help your child better. This will also help you understand where your child is at in terms of understanding what is going to be happening in their coming year. So if you think your child needs attention in a specific area, you can work on that with your child till the school begins. What you can also do is you can understand where they are situated. And if you find that your child is facing difficulty in something specific, you can talk to that or mention about that to the faculty at school. And they can also be aware that this is a tough point or like a soft spot for your child. And they can focus on your child when discussing that idea. So it just allows for a more coordinated work between the child, you, and the faculty if you're able to meet them. Now, another very, very important point is to not pressurize your child to score or perform. Your child is in the beginning years of schooling. And what is very important here is to sort of focus on the basics and establish that and to focus on learning. Your scores at this point, your child's score at this point are not as relevant as their grasping of the concept. So pay attention on that. Also include the fact that the kind of exams and approach to assignments and assessments was different for the past 2 years. So for them to go to the offline mode is going to take a little time. And if in that process their score or performance is impacted, then that is only natural and allowed to happen. Um, Another important point: repeat a year in your child's early school years if needed. Um, don't stigmatize the idea. If you feel that your child is facing difficulty and a repeated school year is going to be helpful, it could be in their pre-primary years or primary years, and you think that is going to help them just learn the basics academic wise and also adapt to the social environment better. You can talk about that with your school's faculty and other experts if needed, and understand if that is something you want to approach and if that is something will help your child. So keep that venue open if needed. um, Another very good idea that you can do is organize peer study groups. That is, you can invite your child's friends. It could be in the online mode or the offline mode, and take a simple topic that your child and their friends are familiar with and give them an activity related to that, or just a simple study group where they're sitting and focusing on it. What happens is, because your child is interacting with people of the same age, clarification of doubts, that is both asking and giving answers, becomes easy because they become comfortable in that group. It also helps with the social interaction aspect because your child is already meeting them and interacting with them. So try organizing these peer study groups even now and after school begins. So your child has that time to interact with their peers. Now, let's move to the next topic, and again, a very relevant question, I think, and that is, what is the most challenging part of returning to the new normal for you? So, as adults, as parents, as employees, what are the difficulties that you have faced about returning to the new normal, that is post the pandemic? What are the difficulties that you have faced? Um, these could be as a parent, as uh, an employee, as a businessman or a businesswoman. Anything that you faced that you're still, trying to work on or has become easier now. Okay, slow in writing. I think this is something you've noted in your child. Okay. There has been little practice, and that has led to the consequence of little slower in writing. In fact, these are things that we have also noticed as students who are older, or parents and individuals. Reading capacities, writing capacities have gone down. Right. Letter switching, that happens a lot of time. Social interaction, absolutely. That is a very new domain, not only for children, but for us as well, because we have lost practice. Tantrum prone, very, very true. Right. Okay. So these are some of the many problems that we've noticed in our children that they have faced because of the whole new normal idea, or going back to what was usual but has now not remained so. Stomach pain before school. Exactly. It was the a lot of children complain that, I have a stomach ache, I do not want to go to school. Right. Now, a lot of these stem from the concept of social interaction. That is how your child is dealing with the increased social interaction post the pandemic. Now, the pandemic has restricted social interaction and social environments in general, not only for children, but for us as well. We've spent most of our time within our house, within the family environment, or with people we've been staying before, that could be friends. But in general, very little social interaction with new people. Now, you need to realize that this is more challenging for the younger children, or children in general, because we have had years of practice before the pandemic. So we've had 30, 40 years of practice of social interaction before the pandemic, and that is strong. However, for children, it was hardly a year or 2 years or 3 years of a social interaction, post which there was a very sudden break or reduction for 2 whole years. So it is only normal for your child to find it quite challenging and new to cope with the sudden influx of people in terms of staff, teaching staff, non-teaching staff, teachers, friends, seniors, juniors. All of this is going to be quite a lot of people suddenly for your child, right? And since we're talking about their emotions and their fears and their anxiety here, I would like you to focus on dealing with this in terms of being more accommodative to their feelings, right? So be understanding to their hesitance. Children in general are shy when it comes to strangers or new people. So when that in general is normal, post the pandemic, this only starts to make sense. So be understanding to their emotions, their hesitance, validate them. I request you all to please allow your child to express, because expressing their emotions gives them a space to vent it out, to externalize it, and then be able to work on it, right? So allow your child to talk about it and show empathy and validation. Do not get upset with them or angry with them about feeling a certain way about going to school or about interacting with people. Be accommodative to the idea of them facing difficulty here. Take them to show their school. Now, what are some of the doable activities that you could do is take your child to their school. Most of the schools might be shut, but you could still take them out. Show them from the gate that this is your school. This is where you're going to be coming. This is where you will spend most of your day. In a couple of weeks, your school will begin. You will meet so many new people. That is the ground. See, that's where you will get to play. If the school is open, even great, you could go show them the classrooms, the mess, the eating area, the playroom. It will just desensitize them to the area of school, that is the physical and geographical area. So your child is familiar and is not placed in a very new environment suddenly. So try to do this regularly, take them to school and show the physical environment. Another thing that you can do is organize Zoom meetings or small meetups with their peers. So you could approach it online or offline based on whatever works for your child and their friends, but try to make them meet friends. This will allow them to have a little familiarity when school begins, because they will know who are there in their class. Friendships would be established. So they will have a safe space or a comfortable place to go to with the new environment. So try organizing something that includes their friends. Meet relatives, go to play zones, zoos, museums, anywhere where you think your child will have the opportunity to interact with people, both their age or elders or youngsters, because that will allow them to prepare for social interactions, sort of be like a practice area where they can hone on their social skills. So take them to new places so they adapt to the place as well as new people. Another important thing that you can do is role play at home. So you can role play with your child where you become a friend or a peer or a teacher, and you ask your child to approach the situation as if it was in school. In the beginning, you can take the child's role, as the other, ask your child to play the role of a friend or a teacher and show it to them. Demonstrate how you would say go for a submission. Here, ma'am, this is my assignment. Thank you. Just show them how the interaction can look like. So they have a little practice and they have a repertoire of things that they can talk about and things that they can say, which are safe. So the role play becomes a very comfortable practice and an example setting for them, because it's at home, it's with familiar people, but with new ideas, with new situations that they will be facing in the future. So that is something you can try. Now let's move to the next concept or the next topic that we're going to discuss. And before that, I have a question again. Can you all tell me what your child's favorite healthy meal is? Now, this is a trick question where I want you to try to recall if there is something that's quite healthy and something that your child really enjoys. So, is there any favorite snack or a favorite meal that your child really enjoys, which is also relatively healthy for them? You could unmute yourself or message in the chat box. Okay, Dosa with ghee. Well, I think that's a universal favorite. I would agree. Anyone else? Veg noodles. Okay. Mango juice, curd and rice. Okay, these sound like quite healthy options. I'm glad to see that. I think this also is like a forum for parents to like get ideas and pick them up that, okay, this is something I could try with my child as well. So, cornflakes, great option. Mango juice and dry fruits, very healthy. Anything else? Right. Okay. So we saw quite a few options here that I would like the parents to keep in mind that they can also try with their own children. Um, okay, so what we're talking about when we talk about favorite meal in general is the physical aspect of schools. So schools turning offline means that there is quite a little change in the demands that will be placed on your child's body physically. They will be attending offline schools. They will be placed in an outdoor setting, an unfamiliar setting from morning till the evening, where we also cover the summer part or like the day part, where in the summer season, which is going on longer nowadays. So we need to acknowledge that there will be a little more demand placed on their stamina levels as was being placed when they were at home. Given we'll also have co-curricular activities along with the curricular ones, so there will be sports periods, music, singing, dancing, karate, and a lot of co-curricular activities that schools have now introduced. This can be quite taxing on your child's body, and we want to prepare them for being able to take that load. So what can you do as a parent? Uh, First is to give them enough snacks. So pack enough food for them so they have something to munch on and re-energize themselves regularly. Some of the healthy food options that we discussed could be ideas that you could use to give to your child in their tiffin box. So give them enough snacks. Make sure they get enough sleep and rest. So, because in the beginning, it is going to be a little taxing, you want your child to get enough sleep and rest for them to be able to re energize and restore and get back to the next day without it taking a toll on their health as well. So, make sure they get the right kind of sleep and rest, at least for the duration of schools being back to back. Keep them hydrated, very important for them to be on liquids, not just water. It could be juices, drinks. A lot of you said mango juice, that is quite relevant for the season. So these are options that you can consider to keep giving to your child, because hydration will help them not feel very hot, because it's a new environment and they'll be outdoors. The heat in general increases, so it will help your child battle that as well. Another important idea that you could do is introduce physical activity in your child's schedule little by little from now onward. So it could be a 10 minutes walk, some playtime with you or with siblings where they're playing a sport or a game, which involves some kind of physical activity, because that way your child can build on their stamina till the school reopens, and they will have a little time to make it a habit to have that much of a physical demand placed on their body on a regular basis. Another thing that you can do is introduce a variety of food in their everyday meal. Now, this becomes important because nowadays a lot of schools give meals as part of the school program. So you have the meals included, and your child will not get the food that they're getting at home. It has to be a little different from the home cooked meal. So you want your child to be prepared to enjoy that food. Also, school time means sharing tiffin boxes, and you want your child to be accommodating to the others' meals and taste, and learn new food varieties and cuisine. So try introducing a little variety now itself, as it allows them to become open to the idea of a variety of food in general, and also prepares them for the school food that they will be receiving. Um, Now, another important thing that you can do is work out a schedule with them. Now, here, when we're talking about a schedule, I'm not talking about a very rigid timetable that you need to follow with your child. Like this is when you wake up, eat, sleep, or study, play, and all of that. What we are focusing on is a flexible routine where at least their rest timings and food timings are established. Now, this will allow for them to have a routine, get enough sleep, and have enough food and re-energizing time. Because these are really fundamental once schools begin. Have your child decide a relative or a tentative time where they are going to be sleeping and when they're going to be taking their meals and the regular intervals at which they will be taking their liquids. Um, it allows for you to cut down on the stress you will be taking about your child not eating enough or not drinking enough liquid. So establish the schedule, try to work it out with your child. It will make the process easier for both you as a parent and for them as a child. Now, the last concept, but I think a very important one, which brings me to the question of how attached your child is to you on a scale of 0 to 10. So um, I think we had the polls here for a couple of parents, but I think I can
I'll post the
have
poll
them.
again, Yashi.
Yeah, thank you. Right. How attached is your child on a scale of 0 to 10? Okay, I see most of the answers more than 4 on a scale of 0 to 10. Okay. The 10 who say it is between 4 to 7, 3 who say 8 to 10. Right. The others, any rough number that you could give to it? I see most of them are between the number of 4 to 7. That is, most of the children are quite relatively attached to their parents, and that is a very common pattern that we see, something that is also increasing in since the pandemic. So because your child has been around you most of the time, they have become very attached to you in every aspect. And attachment is a very important concept for your child because that forms the basis for a lot of other social behaviors that your child will learn. Their attachment style with their parents is fundamental to their attachment style with others as well. So, what we're looking for is a secure attachment where your child feels safe with you, but is also able to function independently, right? That is the balance we're looking for. So your child needs to know that you'll be there and finds comfort in you, but is also able to function without you being there. Right. So we see most of the parents saying that their children are attached to them between 4 to 7 on a scale of 0 to 10. Okay. It looks like a good, healthy number here. Um, but we do have instances where we find that our child is finding it really difficult to get separated from us. And it becomes a little difficult for them to grasp to the idea of being separate from their parents. And that leads to tantrums or emotional outbursts and a lot of expressions or sudden expressions of emotions or withdrawals that they could be showing. Now, what becomes important here is that, again, you do not deny their emotion or be upset or angry with them. It's quite contradictory to think that you'll be angry with your child because they love you so much or they are so attached to you. It is quite contraindicated, so let's not do that. Be accommodating, try to understand why they are feeling how they are feeling, and don't deny their emotions. They're allowed to express it, and you are also allowed to listen to it. If and only if they are able to empty themselves, can they move to the part of where they are able to then work on it. So they need to get it out of their system, talk about it, feel understood. only then will they become open to the idea of working on it, right? So talk to them, listen to them, and don't be upset or angry about them feeling that way. Coming back to the idea of taking them to school, you can take them to school and talk about school and all the exciting aspects like we discussed back there, about how they can see what will be happening in school. Like, this is where your class is, that's where the playground is, that's where you'll get to eat. It just takes, prepares them to the idea of school being a place where they will be separated from their parents, and what will happen when they are separated. So, since they will know what will be happening, it will make the idea a little okay and a little comforting for them, because they also know that their parents know what is going to be happening, right? So, you can take them to school, talk about it, and prepare them slowly as the time comes. Use stories to show the fun and exciting aspects of school. Now, I think all of us have some fun stories from our school time that you would like to talk about, or that show that school was a very good time to go back to. So, talk to them about those stories, share it with them. If your child has elder siblings who have done school and they are quite okay with the idea, they could also drop in their stories, or how they enjoy school, or what is the most exciting aspect about school for them. So your child knows that there are good things waiting for them there as well. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and not just the separation from parents, but a lot of new people to meet, things to do, things to learn. So that could be something you can try. You can also comfort them with the idea of knowing, letting them know that you will still be there for them. So your child needs to know that this separation will not mean an endless separation, and that you will be there for them once they are back. For this, your child needs to trust you to be there, and there needs to be a bond where you are familiar with the patterns of your child, and more importantly, your child is familiar with your pattern. So things like avoiding lying to them when you're stepping out of the house, or just being there to comfort them when they actually need it. These will help your child know that you will be there for them consistently. These are things that Crink also talks about in their master classes. So you can approach Crink about solving these issues as well, in case this is something you face trouble with. Another last point that you can remember is to try to expose your child to such situations before school begins. So it's going to be a slow process, where you initially start by moving out to another room when your child is sitting in one room. You move to the other room and you let your child engage in what they are doing while you engage in something else. And then you could slowly build on that by moving to the kitchen, moving to, say, a neighbor's place, you going for like a quick grocery trip, something small duration, begin with something that is quick to something that's more longer. So your child gets slowly prepared to the idea of being separate from you. Um, and then you can shift to it you being your child stepping away. So you could send them to the neighbors, something for them to pick up, play with someone, drop them at the relatives for a little while. So they are just familiar with the idea of you not being there first at home, where they are in their safe space, but mama or papa are not there. And then in a place where they are also placed in a new environment without the parents, but they are okay with it because it's slowly and gradually built up. So remember, this will take time, but this is something you can surely approach to help with the physical distance that your child will have to learn to get used to during the school timing. Okay, so with this, we come to the last part of the presentation, that is conclusion. Um, I want these few points to be the takeaway that you have today from here. First, being take it slow. It is very important for you to understand that it will take time for your child. So don't hurry it up. Don't rush them through the idea of going back to school, or, don't just suddenly drop it on them and then just step away, step away. Give them to time, give them the time to adapt to it, build it up for them. So take it slow, be there for them. with how they are processing it, how they are reacting to it. Throughout that, be there for them, because one of the biggest fears that they have about going to school is that you will not be there with them during that duration. You don't want to reinforce that idea in their head that you will not be there. So when the discussions are happening, or when your child is showing their emotions or throwing a tantrum about it, be there with them for it. Let them process it and listen to them when they are talking about it. Another important thing, make it something fun and exciting. I think all of us will agree that school, just mentioning school brings very happy memories for us. And that is what we want our children to have as well. So don't make it a touchy topic where your child is getting afraid at the mere mention of school. Make it fun and exciting. Talk about the happy aspects, build it up slowly, and finally, prepare yourself as well. Here, I'm talking about preparing yourself in the sense that that separation could take a little toll on you as well, because it's new. You're used to having your child around. So, prepare yourself for that, and also prepare yourself for the new role that you will be taking up. Um, for the time being, you might have to pay a little more attention to your child, um, or be a little more active as their teachers, their support systems, and prepare yourself for that increased role that you will have to play, or increased time that you'll have to give to your child. It could be individual time or otherwise, and just be there for them. And yes, just make school something that they're looking forward to. Keep all of these small points in mind. A handout will be given, which you can refer to, where all of this will be mentioned. So try introducing the idea of school slowly and gradually to them, to be helping them to prepare for it and be ready to go for it. So that's on my part. Thank you all so much. If there are any questions or feedbacks or suggestions, or any tips that you as parents who have tried all of this, or something that has worked out for you in the past couple of months or previously, we're open to it. It's a forum where we are open to discussing ideas. Thank you. How do we make the child sit in place? Um, Okay, when it comes to something like this, that is quite a specific concern that you may have about your child. And what I suggest is, uh, when we come to something like this, it's always better to have an expert on board if the concern is something that is prolonged. Now, if your child is finding it difficult to sit in place only since the past couple of months because of the pandemic, then it could be a result of the pandemic period, and it could be something your child can slowly build to. However, if you think this is something that is going a little out of hand, or your child is facing real trouble with, we always encourage you to get an expert on board and talk to them. And Crink is here to do that. So you can get in touch with Crink if there are specific concerns you are facing in relation to the learning abilities of your child. So you can always contact Crink for that. I hope that answered your question. Um, do we mention the child being tantrum prone to the teacher? If that is something you think will help help the teacher be prepared for, and that is something you see in your child having regularly, then that is something you can talk to the teacher about. So yes, it prepares them a little better, and you can also give them a little idea of how they could handle it, and you can also work on it by yourself while schools are going to begin, the time that you have. Um, my child loves to go to school for the surprise I keep in his lunchbox, and the surprise is nothing but a love note. I think that's one of the most beautiful ideas we've been shared today. Um, I think it sounds great for your child to have that feeling of comfort and home for that minute when they're seeing that note. And this is what we're talking about, right? This is a very small role that you as a parent can play but it just makes the idea of school so much fun for them, while also helping you build a bond with your child. So it meets so many needs of your child with such little things that you can do. So thank you so much for that idea. That sounds absolutely wonderful. Are there any other ideas like these? Any doubts, concerns? Okay, I think we're good to go. So thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope this helped. As I mentioned, the handouts will be given. So you can always go back to that. And if there are any specific concerns that you feel you will be facing or you think you have faced with your children, CRINC is open to taking such concerns. We have one-to-one sessions, we have master classes with where a lot of issues are dealt with. So you can surely get in touch with the CRINC team to know more. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you all so much for joining.
Shall I end the session, Yashi?
Yes, sure. Thank you all.